The first time I felt Coach Sloan's hands on me, I thought she was going to break my arm. I didn't realize, until much later, that she was actually putting me back together. The gym, Valkyrie Jiu-Jitsu, smelled like determination. It was a thick, humid scent composed of industrial rubber, sanitizer, and the collective sweat of 30 women trying to kill each other in pajamas. To most, it was gross. To me, it was the smell of penance. I was 34, a soft-handed copywriter who specialized in organic soap campaigns, and I was currently being crushed into the blue mats by a woman named Beth. Beth was a forklift operator during the day, and right now, she felt like a forklift. "Breathe, Morgan." The command came from the front of the room. It wasn't a shout, it was a bark. Coach Sloan didn't shout. She didn't have to. Her voice had a natural frequency that cut through the chaos of slapping mats and grunting bodies. I tried to breathe. It was hard when Beth's shoulder was driving into my carotid artery. I tapped my hand on her back. Tap, 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 and the pressure vanished instantly. "Nice pressure, Beth," Sloan said, walking past us. She didn't look at me. She never looked at me. To her, I was just white belt number 4, the soccer mom who had signed up because her daughter, Lily, was getting bullied and needed a chaperone. Lily, bless her heart, was a natural. At 10 years old, she moved like water. I moved like a folding chair that had rusted open. "Again," Sloan ordered. I reset my GI, my fingers trembling. My knuckles were raw, my knees were bruised a mottled purple, and my ego was non-existent. I had joined this all-female academy because I wanted to show Lily that women could be strong, that we could be strong. After my divorce from Vanessa, a woman who had spent 6 years systematically dismantling my confidence until I apologized for breathing too loud, I needed to find a version of myself that wasn't apologetic. But 3 months in, I didn't feel strong. I felt like a ragdoll. The timer buzzed. "Time," Sloan yelled. "Line up." We shuffled to the wall. The hierarchy was strict. Black belts at the front, then brown, purple, blue, and finally, the white belts. I stood at the very end of the line, trying to make myself small. I pulled my lapels tight, hiding the fact that my rash guard was soaked through. Sloan walked the line. She was a striking, terrifying creature. She stood maybe 5'9", but her posture made her seem 6 feet tall. Her hair was cut in a sharp, asymmetrical bob, black as ink, and her eyes were a piercing, icy blue that seemed to analyze your skeletal structure. She wore a black GI with red trim, the sleeves rolled up to reveal forearms that were corded with muscle. She stopped in front of the blue belts, giving feedback. She stopped in front of Beth. "Good work on the side control, Beth. Watch your base." Then she came to the white belts. She usually skipped us, or gave a generic "keep showing up." Today, she stopped in front of me. I stared at her bare feet. She had a tattoo on her ankle, a small, geometric wave. "Morgan," she said. My head snapped up. It was the first time she had used my actual name. Usually, it was just "fix your belt" or "move your hips." "Yes, coach." Sloan studied me. Her expression was unreadable, a mask of stoic discipline. She looked at my messy hair, my red face, the way I was unconsciously shielding my ribs. "You're stiff," she said. "You're fighting the water instead of swimming in it." I know. "I'm trying." "Don't try," she said, her voice dropping an octave, becoming something intimate amidst the public setting. "Stay after class." The words hung in the air. Stay after class. Panic flared in my chest. Was I being kicked out? Was I holding the class back? Vanessa used to tell me I was clumsy, an embarrassment in physical situations. "See." The voice in my head whispered. "Sloan sees it too." "Class dismissed," Sloan announced, bowing. 1, 2, 3. "Hoo-ah," the class shouted in unison. The mats cleared. Women chatted, untying belts, laughing about the day. I stood frozen. Lily ran up to me, her face flushed with joy.
"Mom,
"Did you see my sweep? I totally got Sarah." "I saw, baby." "That was amazing." I forced a smile, smoothing her hair. "Listen, Coach Sloan needs to talk to me for a minute. Why don't you go to the lobby and start your homework? I'll be 10 minutes. "Okay." She grabbed her backpack and skipped off, oblivious to her mother's impending execution. The gym emptied. The heavy silence settled in, broken only by the hum of the ventilation system. Sloan walked out of her office. She had taken off her GI jacket, wearing just a tight, sleeveless black compression shirt. The definition of her shoulders was distracting. Dangerous. She walked onto the mats, carrying a bottle of water.
She didn't offer it to me.
She took a long drink, her throat working, before capping it and looking at me. "You're afraid," she stated.
I'm not, I lied. You are.
"I can feel it when you roll. You flinch before anyone even touches you." She took a step closer. "Who hurt you, Morgan?" The question was so direct, so unexpected, that I choked on my answer. That's personal." "Everything on the mat is personal," Sloan said. She circled me, like a shark inspecting prey. "Jiu-Jitsu is the art of honesty. You can't lie when someone is sitting on your chest. You panic. You give up position because you don't think you deserve to take up space." She stopped in front of me, inches away. I could smell peppermint and soap. "I'm not kicking you out," she said, seeing the terror in my eyes. "But I am going to fix you, because it's painful to watch." "I'm sorry," I whispered, looking down. "Stop apologizing." Her voice cracked like a whip. I flinched. Sloan sighed, the harshness leaving her face, replaced by a strange, weary softness. That right there. The flinch. We need to kill that." She gestured to the floor. "Lie down." "Excuse me?" "On your back. Guard position." I hesitated, then lowered myself onto the blue mat. The ceiling lights were bright. Sloan stood over me, blocking out the glare. "Close your eyes," she ordered. I closed them. My heart was hammering against my ribs like a trapped bird. "I'm going to put pressure on you," she said, her voice coming from above. "I want you to breathe.
Do not push me away.
Just breathe." I felt her weight settle over me. She wasn't crushing me, but she was there, heavy and solid in the mount position. It was a vulnerable position, her hips over mine, her knees pinching my sides. In any other context, it would be sexual. Here, it was dominance. "Breathe," she whispered. I took a shallow breath.
Deeper.
"Into your belly." I felt a hand on my diaphragm. Her hand. It was warm, firm. "Push my hand up with your breath." I inhaled, focusing on her hand. I exhaled. "Good," she murmured. Again. We stayed like that for 5 minutes, just breathing. The panic began to recede, replaced by a strange, floating sensation. I was pinned, but I wasn't trapped. "Open your eyes," she said. I opened them. Sloan was looking down at me, her face framed by the shadows of the gym. Her eyes weren't icy anymore. They were just intense. "You are not small," she said, her voice low. "You are not weak. You are structure. You have frames. You have leverage. You just have to trust them." She climbed off me and offered a hand. I took it. She pulled me up with an effortless grace. "Tuesday and Thursday nights," she said, letting go of my hand a beat too late. "After Lily's class."
You stay.
"We work." "Yes, coach." I breathed. "And Morgan?" She paused at the door to her office. "Call me Sloan." The weeks that followed blurred into a montage of pain and awakening. Every Tuesday and Thursday, after the other women left, I stayed in the dim light of the dojo with Sloan. She didn't just teach me moves, she taught me physics. She taught me that a 130-pound woman could topple a giant if she understood where the center of gravity was. "It's not about strength," she told me one rainy night in November. We were drilling arm bars. Her legs were wrapped around my arm, isolating the joint. "It's about isolation. You cut off their options until they have nowhere to go." She applied the pressure slowly. My elbow hyperextended slightly. I tapped. She released instantly, but didn't move away. She stayed there, her body entangled with mine. "You had a bad marriage," she said. It wasn't a question. I looked up at the ceiling. My ex-wife, she was brilliant,
Charismatic.
and she needed to be the only sun in the solar system. I spent 10 years making myself smaller so I wouldn't eclipse her. I forgot how to take up space. Sloan shifted. She was still holding my wrist. Her thumb brushed over the pulse point. "You're not small here," Sloan said softly. "Here, you're dangerous." I laughed, a dry sound. "I'm a white belt, Sloan. I'm hardly dangerous." "You're dangerous to me," she murmured. The air in the gym suddenly felt very thin. I turned my head to look at her. She was looking at my mouth. The hunger in her eyes was raw, undisguised. It terrified me. It thrilled me. Then she cleared her throat and rolled away, standing up briskly. Again. "Left side. Your hips are too low." She retreated behind the wall of coach, but we both knew the wall had a crack in it. The dynamic shifted. The touches lingered longer than necessary. When she demonstrated a choke from behind, Her breath against my ear sent shivers down my spine that had nothing to do with fear. When I managed to sweep her, because she let me, though she'd never admit it, her smile was a small, secret trophy I hoarded. I started walking differently. I stood straighter at work. When Vanessa called to criticize the way I'd braided Lily's hair, I didn't apologize. I just said, "It looks fine, Vanessa," and hung up. I felt solid. The breaking point came in January. The gym was hosting an internal seminar. The room was packed with 50 women. The humidity was off the charts. We were doing King of the Hill, a drill where you stay in the center until someone submits you. I had been surviving. I wasn't winning, but I wasn't losing instantly. I was fighting. Then I was paired with Brenda, a purple belt who took no prisoners. Brenda pulled me into her guard. I remembered Sloane's voice. Posture.
Base.
Don't let her break you down. I kept my back straight. I gripped Brenda's GI pants. I started to pass. Then Brenda switched hips and threw up a triangle choke. Her legs locked around my neck and arm.
The world started to go gray.
Panic, the old, cold friend, surged. I couldn't breathe. I was going to pass out in front of everyone. Don't panic, Sloane's voice echoed in my head. Create an angle. I didn't tap. Not yet. I drove my weight forward. I stacked her. I used the last ounce of oxygen in my lungs to twist my shoulder, creating a tiny pocket of air. Brenda grunted, surprised by my resistance. She adjusted, but I had found the gap. I ripped my arm free and collapsed on top of her, gasping for air. Time. I rolled off, coughing. Holy crap, Morgan. Beth yelled, slapping my back. You escaped Brenda's triangle. That's legendary. I looked up, wiping sweat from my eyes. Across the room, leaning against the wall with her arms crossed, was Sloan. She wasn't cheering. She was watching me with an intensity that burned. She gave a single, slow nod. It was better than a medal. After the seminar, there was a potluck. Women were drinking electrolytes and eating protein bars, laughing. I was in the locker room, changing out of my soaked GI. I was alone, struggling to get my jeans over my damp skin, when the door opened. It was Sloan. She locked the door behind her. The click echoed loudly in the tiled room. You didn't tap, she said. I had an exit, I replied, pulling my t-shirt on. My hands were shaking. You could have gone to sleep. I trusted the technique. Sloan walked toward me. She was wearing her street clothes, dark jeans, and a leather jacket. She looked less like a monk and more like a rock star. You scared the hell out of me, she confessed, her voice rough. When I saw that choke lock in, I almost stopped the match. Why? I asked, leaning back against the lockers. You let people get choked all the time. Not you, she whispered. She stopped a foot away. I can't watch you get hurt, Morgan. It's becoming a problem. A problem? I'm your instructor. There are rules. There are lines. We're both adults, Sloan. And I'm divorced. I felt a surge of boldness, the same courage that had helped me escape the triangle choke. And I think we crossed the line about 2 months ago, when you started teaching me how to use my legs to hold someone down. Sloan let out a jagged breath. She placed a hand on the locker next to my head, boxing me in. I have been trying, she said, her eyes searching mine, to be professional. To be the stoic, unshakable Coach Sloan. But you come in here, with your bruises and your determination and your damn eyes, and you look at me like I'm the only person in the world who sees you. You are the only person who sees me, I whispered. I reached out and touched the lapel of her leather jacket. Vanessa never saw me. She saw a reflection of herself. You see me. You see the fight in me. Sloan closed her eyes for a second, as if fighting a losing battle. Morgan, tell me to stop, I challenged her. Tell me to grab my bag and leave and never stay after class again. Tell me and I will. Sloan opened her eyes. They were dark, dilated. I can't. Good. I grabbed the front of her jacket and pulled her forward. Sloan didn't hesitate. She crashed into me, her mouth capturing mine with a hunger that stole the breath right back out of my lungs. It wasn't gentle. It was desperate. It tasted of adrenaline and months of suppression. Her hands were everywhere, in my hair, gripping my waist, pulling me flush against her body. I wrapped my arms around her neck, holding on for dear life. It felt like sparring, like a struggle for dominance, but it was the best kind of struggle. She lifted me effortlessly, pressing me up against the metal lockers. I wrapped my legs around her waist, guard position, and she groaned into the kiss. God, she muttered against my lips. I've wanted to do this since the first day you walked in with that terrified look on your face. I'm not terrified anymore, I breathed, nipping at her lower lip. Sloan pulled back just an inch. Her breathing was ragged, her lipstick smudged. She looked at me with a fierce possessiveness that made my knees weak. No, she agreed, running a thumb over my cheekbone. You're definitely not. She kissed me again, slower this time, savoring the victory. 6 months later, the bell on the door chimed.
Mom.
Hurry, I don't want to miss warm-ups, Lily shouted, already tying her gray belt as she ran toward the changing rooms. I'm coming, I laughed, slinging my gym bag over my shoulder. I walked into Valkyrie Jiu-Jitsu. The smell hit me, sweat, rubber, home. Sloan was already on the mats, directing the kids' class. She looked up as I entered. She was in full general mode, stern and commanding. But when her eyes met mine, the mask slipped. Just for a second. The corner of her mouth quirked up, and her eyes softened with a warmth that was reserved entirely for me. I walked over to the side of the mat to drop my bag. I wore a blue belt now. It was stiff and new, darker than the sky outside. Sloan walked over, pretending to check the attendance sheet near where I was standing. You're late, blue belt, she murmured, not looking up from the clipboard. Traffic, I whispered back, leaning in close so only she could hear. Also, someone kept me up very late last night talking about the mechanics of the butterfly sweep. Sloan smirked, a dangerous, sexy thing. Valid excuse. But you still owe me 50 push-ups. Tyrant, I teased. That's Coach Tyrant to you. She looked up then, checking to make sure no one was watching, and brushed her fingers against my hand. You staying after tonight? I looked at this woman, this powerful, complex, beautiful woman who had taught me how to rebuild myself from the ground up. I looked at the mats where I had bled and cried and learned to breathe. Always, I said. Sloan winked, then turned back to the room, clapping her hands. All right, listen up. Eyes on me. I watched her command the room, my heart full. I had joined jiu-jitsu to save my daughter. I had stayed to save myself. And in the quiet hours after the lights went down, I had found something worth fighting for. I stepped onto the mat, bowed, and prepared to roll.